Okay, what I'm doing is setting up for my final, well, let's see, not my final cut. There's about 5 or 6 cuts here, but the procedure has been the same all the way along. I will start out with the compound backed off to 60. Then I go in with my cross slide 2 divisions. Right now I was on 40. So now I'm just going into 42. Get myself a little bit of oil on there. It's a cutting oil mixed with Molly D. And bring it up, stay plenty away from it. I've got the drive belts loosened. I have the power shut off so I don't accidentally turn it on. I have the pulley disconnected from the spindle in here on the bull gear so that this is as free as possible. Then the rest of this is straightforward. Pull up the, it's an 8-pitch thread, so I can use any division here on the thread dial. So I pull up the lever all the way so that I know where it is every single time. It's all the way up. And then I do the turning by hand. Like so. I have a stop set, and I can feel when I get to the stop. I can feel real easily. Disengage the half nut. Turn it a few more times while it's in this stationary position, and while it's spinning, back off the cross slide. Come back now to 44, 2 more thousandths. Get rid of the chip. And in case you're wondering, yeah, it's a slow process. An hour and a half of this for each one of these. So, up with the half nut. And I'm only cutting about half the width of the actual tooth space that I have here, because I want to keep the power requirement down. In other words, the amount of torque required to cut this is getting skinnier and skinnier. It'll end up being only about 78,000. I don't want to shear the thing off because I'm taking too big a cut. So I have that tool narrowed up to 40 thousandths less. It's about a 50 thousandths wide tool. Now, one of the things that I've learned, you've got to be real even on your hand feed here when you're turning it, because you want the cut, once the cut has started, you want it to peel off evenly. So I'm coming back, that was at 44, now I'm going to come to 46, pick up another number, and once again, I'm only taking 2 thousandths depth of cut, 4 thousandths on its diameter, and about roughly half the thread width at a time. I do this so that there's no stop marks where I stop it. So that was 46, come back to 48. Engage half nut. Can use a little more oil perhaps. Now when I made this follower rest, I made it hardened style, as far as just a single bird mouth jaw that's on the center line, so it supports the top and the bottom at once. So that was 48. I'm going to take another cut at that just to be on the safe side. I think that was 48. I'm starting to lose track here a little bit. I don't know if I'm sticking my head in the video too much or not, but I got to be able to see what I'm doing. It does. I've learned that that does help if you can see what you're doing. Ha ha. Anyhow, so okay, here we go again. There's no way I can cut this. The machine will not turn slow enough, even though back gear is 48 RPM. That's still too fast. And then with all that torque behind it, if you nail the stop, you can't get out of the, you can't disengage the half nuts. There's too much pressure on them. So 50 is my finished number inward. This is a finished cut, although I'll take a spring cut or cleanup cut. So righty. So now I'm at my finished diameter. But I'll get this away from here so you can see what the next steps are. The next steps are to widen, and to make it a little easier for you guys to see, I'm going to take the camera out of the tripod here. Try to do it somewhat carefully so I can put it back in and be in the same place. I need to, there we go. Alrighty. Just a second. I'm doing this with opposite hands here. Okay. You can see now what I have left down there. Down in the bottom, I've got to widen that minor diameter all the way across. Okay. And it gets tricky, but I've been successful on, this will be the fourth one. I'm making some extras just because there's so much work that has to still be done, and it's such a fragile part. There could still be some sort of accidents. So now, staying at the 50, now I will advance the compound 5 thousandths to take a 5 thousandths cut that is 10 thousandths deep from when I had that little minor diameter. What's left is 10 thousandths of an inch deep per side. So now I'm going to be facing 5 thousandths of that off with each one of these. With each one of these cuts. I started to talk about that bird's mouth support for the follower rest. That's hardened steel. It's something, I'm pretty sure it's 01, but I'm not positive. It's left over from something else. And then got it from a friend and it wasn't marked, so I don't know. But it acted like it. It did seem to get good and hard from oil. The faces, both the vertical face and the horizontal face, are polished to a pretty high gloss. So that acts as a burnishing, has a burnishing action, which really helps give that OD a pretty finish when it's the tool is pushing it into that 90-degree pocket, while it's also burnishing the sides and or the OD. So anyhow, okay, another 5 thousandths coming off. Why I found you have to be real careful, at least with this machine. There's enough slop in the gear train, and I suspect it's going to be with most machines, that if you I tried to spin this the one time as fast as I could by hand like this, and there were a couple of breaks where it just I didn't catch it and it just stopped a little bit, and anyhow I bent that one right at the end, and it shouldn't have, because it should have, if it was going to be bending, it should have been bending way out at the end, but it was at the finish of the cut, which makes me think what happened was I had a little bit of slop in the gear train because I wasn't keeping constant pressure on it, and then it changed the register of the threading. In other words, it wasn't following quite as accurately because of a little bit of backlash somewhere throughout the system. You can see there now, I hope you can. That's a pretty good sized chip came off there. A reasonable size, and I'll do this just so you can get a better view of it. Yeah, need my paper. Sorry about all that, but anyhow. Gotta back this thing off more. Yep, sorry gang, this is the best I can do. I'm not set up for doing, there you get a pretty good idea, get a pretty good view of that good sized chip on the end. Well, yeah, on the end of the cut, not on the end of the shaft. So, now, I'm not going to play games with this 5 thousandths deep. It's a little bit risky to me, I found. So now I came up and took off a total of 15 thousandths in 3 different steps, going inward, facing the widening the groove. Now I'm going to start doing it in 3 thousandths steps. It makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. And there we go. Now when I'm doing this too, because I'm down at my finish here, it's not just stop marks here on the minor diameter that I want to avoid. I also want to use the hand wheel for the complete carriage to assure that I am up against the stop and continue turning it. This is without the, once I've disengaged the half nut, and that way I assure myself that I'm coming up to where I want to at the end of the thread. Okay, now 3 more. So this is number 82. Now remember, I started at 60, so now I'm up to 82. And this is where I put pressure on the stop by hand with one hand while I'm spinning that, and then I back the whole thing away. Keep coming back to 50 on my cross slide. I'm at 84. And here we go again. Now it's 87. Don't like that. There's still some chips in here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Back to 50. So now I come up to 90. I was at 87, I come up to 90. And then from the rest of 90, I'm going to take 5 more cuts at only 2 thousandths deep. Don't know if you can see me engaging and disengaging that half nut there, but because I got a crowded shop and I really can't get that far back with this camera. If I had fancy video equipment, perhaps I'd have different lenses or something. I don't know. So anyhow, that's the best that I can do for where I'm at. And now I'm going to go 92. Oh, sigh. Disengage half nut. This is a 16-inch South Bend lathe, by the way, so we're talking about a fair amount of mass here and a fair amount of substance for a fairly delicate job. Okay, and I don't remember if I advanced it, but it doesn't matter. I don't care if I take extra cleanup cuts. I don't think I advanced it. Yeah, but I got a chip, so must have done something. Maybe it's just a cleanup cut. So back to 50. As I said, 50 is my final number. Now it's 94. Again, come back to 50, 96. I spent just over 2 weeks of pretty many hours a day. Not always 8 hours a day, but substantial, at least 5, just to get to the point I could get one. There were a lot of heartbreaks. Now it's 98. As different tricks to learn. I did try running it on one cut, and I nailed the stop. Luckily, the stop wasn't that tight on the bed that it would slide. And the bad part about this old lathe is it doesn't have a brake. Got a threaded nose on the spindle. That makes it kind of difficult to put a brake on it somewhere. If you stop the spindle too fast, this chuck can unscrew and go flying on the floor. So, have to live with it. And basically, I'm had the machine since 1974, I think it was. It has served me very well. It's continuing to serve me very well. But I'm quite used to it because I've been using it for so long, and so I understand some of its quirks. Such as that threading business where I said you pull the half nut all the way up to the stop. Well, normally I would pull it up to the stop when I'd engage the half nut, and then I would take my hand and move it down to where I felt resistance so that it was right away ready to disengage. That I would take up all the slop. This is finished, but I'm going to take another cleanup cut. Cross my fingers that it comes out okay. Because I've had it happen where on one of the last final cuts, all of a sudden, I don't know if it was a chip got in the tool or the steady follower rest, I don't know. But all of a sudden I had a shaft that was bent at nearly 90 degrees and actually fracturing. So, So now that one is finished, I believe. I want to check the ID. Yep, 79.5. I'm not too worried about it having to be crazy nuts because of what it does. I'm going to pull this off so you can get a view of the finished part. The lighting looks better in real life than it does here, but you can still see that it's doing a pretty darn nice job of burnishing all the faces. The bottom, the OD is being burnished by that follower rest, but the working face, this is the working face right here, the bottom face going all the way up. That's what's actually going to do the work, and so that has to get polished later too. And that finish, I can't really get it real well. Yeah, there you can start to see it. It's, see if I change the light here. Yeah. Anyhow, it's pretty shiny. It's not going to take much polishing. So, I want to point out a couple other things here. Okay. This steady rest, follower rest, I had made for just a job I ran 20 years ago and never ran again. These stubs here and here, I had ball bearings on them, and these ball bearings, just electric motor grade bearings. I had to turn a taper 15 inches long, and this machine does not have a taper attachment. So I had to make the steady rest, and I had to do the taper all in one cut. I've mentioned how I did this on the Home Shop Machinist and on the Practical Machinist. So if you wanted to, you could look that up. The Practical Machinist, it's in the H South Bend thread. Sorry, not H anything. And the Home Shop Machinist, I think it's a thread saying something about a taper attachment, cutting a taper without an attachment. So this block was mounted to these two holes, tight up against there with the ball bearings. I wanted to extend this so that I could get on this side of the cross slide, get closer to the chuck. I decided to make it adjustable while I was at it. None of this, I located as best could be within reason. It's all pieced together, it should be machined after it was welded and all that. I just didn't have time for it. This back shaft goes through all the way to the other side here, and I'm hung up with the cord. There we go. All the way through. That acts as a guide to keep this block from doing that as I move it. It is not super accurate. It's good enough, and this type of crow's foot or bird's mouth joint here, trying to see if you can get it. Yeah, you can still see the discoloration from the heat treating. There we're getting pretty good. Yeah, you can see it reflects very well because it is a high polish. Let's see if you can see. Oh, there. Yeah, there you can. So that's what I'm talking about. That gives you a good idea. So it was surface. No, I don't. As I recall, I didn't even. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember if I just milled it and then finished it with the oil stones. But then I put the final finish on a buffing wheel. This spacer here, in place of a tool holder, is roughly 1 inch thick, and I did this a long time ago for that same job that had the 15-inch taper, so I could bolt and insert a tool with insert tooling right straight to it. That's what these scribe lines are for. That's how I had it sitting there. I've used this for a lot of things ever since because it's nice and rigid. This tool post assembly is something I made years ago for a Hardin's lathe, and I grabbed it and pirated and put it on here for this because I needed to be able to take these tools off and get them exactly right where they belong. No ifs, ands, or buts, because I'd be in big trouble if I couldn't get these things dead on when I put them back in. I'm showing one more thing here. Sorry that I don't know how this is coming out, but anyway, this is another trick that has to be done. You cannot there, maybe I'll get it. The tool has to be ground on an angle to match the helix. In this case, the helix angle is 20 degrees, so you have to have cutting clearance. You have to have the 20 degrees plus cutting clearance on each side. So one side is 18 degrees, the other side is 22. Then it's flat across the top, and of course on center. So just one more. Yeah, I can't. It won't focus. Hell with it. Now I'll be turning it back. I'll be turning this diameter back to here. I'll be doing that in stages. And when it's to this diameter, I'll be cutting it off. While I'm here, what the heck? These are some of the attempts. This is what the finished part has to look like in its holder. These are some of the different attempts. I tried. Oh, I was going to do it in 01, and right away that was the problem. I couldn't even take a 3/1000 deep cut without bending it. This part here is the one. Let me get that in there. That's the one that I mentioned. I was just about done. Let's see how close I can get. Yeah, you can see the double. There's very little left to widen the groove, and it bent that severely, and had I been using carbide, I would have smashed the tool. So let's see, I think that's, if I think of something else, I'll add it. Hope this has been something of a help, and hope it turns out. Thanks.